All right, bro. Good night.
Good night.
That's it.
Museum closed. Please
That's
take
it.
notice. Violated.
That's it.
Museum closed.
That's it.
No trespassing.
Bro, this is it.
This is nuts.
How many people must show up here that they have to kick out?
I remember watching one of the videos where Ed said that no one had ever broken in, but many people had broken out.
I can't believe we're here, bro.
This is crazy.
This is legendary.
Everyone's here. I think they're going to come out in a minute to meet us. So we have our normal cameras.
Yeah.
Yes. We have our infrared GoPro cameras. We have our night vision cameras. But additionally, we have something else that we're filming with tonight. Additionally, we have something else that we're filming with tonight. Additionally, because we're going to be the very first ones to do a paranormal investigation here, besides them, who own the place, at 3 a.m.
What? At the devil's hour.
Yeah. Who own the place at 3 a.m.
What? At the devil's hour.
Yes.
We're gonna be in the most unholy place.
And we're the first people besides them.
Yes. I asked for special permission. I was like, is there any possible way?
How
we
did
could
you
be
get
here?
that?
What is that thing?
Oh, that's sick.
Wait a second. This is
Oh,
a
that is
This
sick.
is an early 1980s VHS camera.
that's a fossil.
And we have actual
Whoa!
tape audio recorders.
Bro,
No
so the
way.
original EVP.
Can I see this?
This is the way.
What the heck?
This is the way the Warrens would have done it. They didn't have tools. They just had their mind themselves.
I am so down.
Look at this.
And we have
Hey.
Tony.
Hey!
Oh,
man,
How you
yeah.
doing?
This is Tony Sparrow, son-in-law of the Warrens, married to their daughter Judy. This couple met in 1979 when Judy accidentally waved to him, thinking he was someone else. Became love at first sight, and the rest is history. Tony is now director of Nesper, as well as the owner and manager of the Warren Occult Museum. Since the 1980s, Tony had worked closely with the Warrens and continues their work to this day. Originally a police officer, he is now known for his work in the paranormal field, while also consulting for numerous films, such as the Conjuring series. He took up the gauntlet after the passing of the Warrens, and helps pave the way for the paranormal community through his lectures and presentations at colleges, and on YouTube as well.
It's nice to meet you, Corbin.
Corbin, you're
Elton.
Elton.
Thank you for having us.
Corey, and who are these guys?
Evan.
Jonah. Hey, pleased to meet you guys. This is Eric, one of my team members.
Yeah.
Chris Lauren,
Hi, guys.
team
Hey.
member.
Came ready tonight.
You can see how excited we
I
are.
was able to track down one of these.
Whoa, you got
Very
the
nice,
old
yeah.
school.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Ed Warren used to have one. Almost hit an RCA like this.
Really?
This is what he got an image of the White Lady on.
What?
Union Graveyard with this. Yeah.
Really?
He used this. And, you know, there was no night vision or anything back then.
No.
Yeah.
Just these are very low quality compared to today.
Of course. Yeah.
But he was able to capture some good stuff just using this old school. You like the old school.
Yeah.
You like the old school. So do I. This is Ed's go-to. Ed had open reel tape decks. He'd cart that thing around with a big microphone, set it all up in the person's house when he was interviewing them.
Yeah.
Or he'd go to a place and he would ask questions like at a grave site, try to get an EVP on his tape, and he would sometimes get it.
Wow.
Those things worked.
Yeah.
And then he went to the cassette. When he interviewed somebody, he always brought a cassette. If you watch the Conjuring 1 movie, he'll say it's November 1st, 1971.
Yep, all
at
on
the
this.
parent house, and you hear him hit that.
Yep,
I have some of them in the museum.
That's awesome.
They used Lorraine's psychic ability as the equipment. That's why it's tough to match them as a team, because Ed was a seasoned investigator, but also a demonologist. In other words, he read everything he could on demonology, everything. The reason why he did it, he lived in a haunted house in Bridgeport, Connecticut. One time he was sleeping with his twin sister. They had separate beds, but they were in one room. And his grandfather had recently died. He says to me, we're sleeping in one room. And his grandfather had recently died. He says to me, we're sleeping. All of a sudden, we're awakened by a sound of a cane hitting the stairs coming up to the second floor, and footsteps and a cane. Because my grandfather always carried a cane. And he said the cane and the footsteps got up to the bedroom, and they were circling their beds.
Oh my God.
And he said, I said, what'd you do, Ed? He said, I had covers all over me.
Yeah.
My sister and I were so frightened. We had the covers over us. We could hear the cane tapping all around the bed.
Yeah.
The museum that you guys are going to have special privileges to go into, you know, because you guys are our friends, kind of. We met you today, and you seem friendly. So people used to start saying, Ed, I got this haunted object. Ever since I bought this object at a tag sale, I had this, the next day I saw a shadow figure, or whatever it was. Or I used this Ouija board, and now I got a problem.
Yep.
Or there's a statue I bought, and somebody must have cursed it. And can you take it off my hands, Mr. Warren? And you did. You know what, Lorraine? Let's clear out the art studio, and I'm going to make it an occult museum. I mean, people always ask him, why do you keep those objects? He said, Tone, when I talk about something like the Annabelle doll, and what happened, you give the whole story of it, and then people say, well, where's the doll now? And I go, I threw it in a dumpster. It's not here anymore. I burned it. Oh, no, we destroyed that. No evidence. He said, it's for people who want to learn more about the paranormal. This is evidence. If he wasn't on the case, he'd be studying more than you can imagine. I could bring in the museum whenever you guys are ready, and on the way I'll show you that little sign that says Barn Door Studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't take it down yet.
Oh, is that sign? That's amazing.
After you,
So he made that sign?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, this was his studio.
That's amazing, dude.
Oh, are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ed used to teach about the paranormal. If you could say that word 3 times fast, I'll let you in. Say it, go ahead.
Paranormology.
Paranormalology. We did it.
Let's go in. This is going to be like a once in a lifetime for you guys, right? Because you haven't been here before.
No, we have not.
Please be respectful when you go in.
Of course.
Don't touch anything. And I'll explain some of the major things that are in there, okay? I'm not going to give you everything that's in there. Of course. I want you guys to close your eyes and envision yourselves, all of you each, covered in a white light all around your body. See, your aura is your supernatural glow around your body. Everything that God has created that's alive has an aura around it. They're all different, like a fingerprint. But that's where evil, that's where the demonic would try to enter through your aura if you have a chink in it. If you have a weak spot in your aura, that's where the devil goes for. So how do you protect it? By envisioning yourself in a glowing white light all around your aura, and ask God to protect you from anything evil, otherworldly, demonic, or inhuman. God will protect you with that white light. Ed used to use it, Lorraine used it, I use it, all our team guys use it. It's got us through a lot of stuff. So that's your extra armor of protection when we go into a place like this. You could do that when you go into a haunted location, cemetery, a haunted house, anywhere where evil might be prevalent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's go. Let's go in.
We're going through the door, man.
The Warren Occult Museum is one of the most unique and terrifying places on Earth, and the most haunted area in the world due to the immense amount of items all held within this one space, where nearly every item can see you and you can see it all at once. haunted pictures and paintings, animal skins and masks used for black magic, real human skulls utilized in rituals, cursed statues, dolls, toys, musical instruments, voodoo artifacts, vampire coffins, tombstones, witchcraft items, and an endless list with a deadly history. A room full of dark mysteries and even darker secrets, yet to be unlocked from the items they are contained within. A collection so sinister, it is kept under lock and key, not only to keep people out, but to keep what is held within it from escaping. Many of the items have been used for black magic or the occult in an attempt to hurt others, often having succeeded in either harming or killing. Many of the previous owners of these objects have ended up in mental institutions due to the strong effects and influence each item has. There is an immense amount of spiritual protection here to contain the evil within the objects, all of which comes from those that care for the museum. Hosting a collection unlike anywhere else in the world, all items here are considered unholy, cursed, and evil. To touch an item is to condemn oneself, to invite demons and evil spirits to attack and consume your physical and spiritual energies. Special protection is put in place to handle any item in the museum, and only a few people are capable of doing so, all of which are with us tonight. 9 p.m. has always been the cutoff time for being inside the museum, and this lockdown continues until 6 a.m. This isn't about closing the museum for the night, but this is when all of the cursed items come to life and to their full power. Even from behind the wards and protections, they become extremely dangerous. This window of time is known as the psychic hours, and a smaller window within it is known as the devil's hour, 3 a.m., when the devil is mocking the Holy Trinity, empowering all items and spirits of an evil being. Even when Ed and Lorraine were still present, they would not be in the museum during those hours. Entering the room alone is at the risk of each person. The young man died in an accident hours after visiting the museum, where he was challenging Annabelle. A priest, as well as a detective, were nearly killed in the museum as well. A museum in which the tables are turned. Visitors do not only look and study each item on display, museum in which the tables are turned. Visitors do not only look and study each item on display, but the items watch, study, and listen to you. Entering the museum truly alone is impossible. One wrong move, one disrespectful action could mean an attack on your well-being, or even worse, your soul.
The story of Victoria's Secret was meant to be hidden and stay hidden.
If you give me just 89 seconds, I'm going to show you this $1 million skill that they were scared to teach you in school, and how you can use it to get out of the 9-to-5.
Wow.
Come on in. Kind of cool, right?
What are you saying, kinda? This is awesome.
Wow.
Got the shadow
Want that
doll.
light coming in. What you're going to see immediately when you first walk in here, create what's called a topa, a human manifestation of the mind. If you have the knowledge, if you have the power, if you are high enough essence, can create things like that. A group would get together and they would take masks like this, put them on their over the face, and then hope to be able to remove the mask and have that image still there, creating a devil or a demon for themselves. Over here though, we call this the shadow doll. Look at it. People say, why do you call it a shadow doll? Well, look at it. Look at it looks.
Yeah.
It's ugly.
Yeah.
There's nails coming out of it. There's a human tooth coming out of it.
What?
There's bird hair, bird feathers I should say, animal bone. That was created specifically for one reason and one reason only, to cause distress to other people if used in a proper manner. If I was very knowledgeable in sorcery and wizardry, and I knew how to do it, I would take a photograph of this and print out the photo. On the back of the photo, I would write the curse that I want. Say towards Elton.
Ha!
Elton, I don't like because Elton tried to steal my girlfriend away. Something happened where I don't like Elton anymore, or in a business venture or something. Now I want to get rid of Elton. I write a curse specifically for Elton because I'm knowledgeable in incantations and curses, we'll say. I send it in the mail, the picture with the curse on the back, to Elton or to you. Just by you opening the envelope and seeing the photo, you accepted the curse that's written on the back, unbeknownst to you. If the person is powerful enough as a sorcerer or a wizard. It's called a shadow doll because it can come to you in your dreams if it's done right. It has been known to scare people in a nightmare so badly that it can stop your heart. That's why people wear a crucifix that's blessed, or a medal that's blessed. That's the opposite. This would be the opposite of something that's holy and blessed. This would be the unblessed. Even though we have every item in here blessed by a priest that comes in here and he blesses these objects, he does the whole museum, then he goes with holy oil and does his thing. These are from Africa, fertility dolls from Africa. Are they powerful? Yeah, they're powerful, and I'll tell you why. These were stolen from a witch doctor in Africa and sent to a man here in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If I can get those here and sell them on the black market, I can make myself some dough. The story is, this young 28-year-old police officer, 2 weeks after he got these, he became paralyzed from the neck down. Doctors couldn't even figure out what was wrong with him. He couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't move. And for about 1.5 years, he was like that, and he finally passed away. Now, was it from the fertility dolls? I'd say so. But you can't prove it, right? It's hard to prove some of these things. But why would you take that kind of a chance with the unknown realm? There's powers out there that we don't know about. So here we have just a regular, like a household mirror, right? But we call it a conjuring mirror. Why? Because people have tried to conjure spirits through mirrors for many, many different years. People call it scrying, I call it crystallomancy. In other words, if there's a shiny object, it's easy for a spirit to reflect their image on the shiny object. We had a gentleman from New Jersey, actually. He's now in a mental institution because he drove him crazy. What he did was he replicated what we call a psychomantium. A psychomantium is a darkened room. When I say darkened, I mean blackened. You would sit down in a chair here, so all you could basically see, or barely see, is the mirror. This guy, he would sit here for hours, looking at the mirror and say, Grandma, Grandma, I want to see my grandmother. I miss you, or my father. Different relatives that he lost. He would sit there for 2 and 3 hours, beckoning them to come to him through the mirror. What was he doing? He was trying to conjure spirits. 2 weeks he did that straight, nothing happened. But then, suddenly monstrosity, faces of monstrosities started to come through to this guy. It scared the living heck out of him. Frightened him so badly, like I said, he ended up in a mental hospital, this guy. You can do the same thing. Now, I wouldn't want you to, and the audience listening, I wouldn't ever want you to do that. If you do something long enough and with enough intention, to the spirit realm, it's going to happen. Something's going to come through. It's probably not going to be your mom or your dad or your grandmother or your grandfather, because the demonic can trick you. In other words, it could be someone who looks like your mom, your dad, your girl, whoever passed away. They come in the guise of who you want them to be, because they, the demonic, want to be invited into your life. As soon as you invite them in, even if it's unbeknownst to you, it's almost impossible to get rid of a demonic entity then, because you invited him into your realm. The demonic goes after the weak-willed. Now, if you're strong in faith and you're just stoic, you're like a John Wayne type of guy, and you believe in God, and God's going to protect me, a lot of times they don't mess with you. This is an organ from the Phelps house. They were clearing it out, and somebody called up Ed and said, Ed, would you like to have an artifact from that Phelps mansion? He said, yeah, I'll take whatever you got. Ed said from upstairs in the kitchen he could hear the organ playing. He'd say, nobody's supposed to be in the museum. Would they break in? He'd run down the stairs, come here, and the strings of the organ would stop. 3 different times here. It's not a player organ. We have the remnants of Flight 401. These parts here are actual pieces of the wreckage aircraft. I'm telling you, I had a visit from Don Rico. I came home. It was raining, pouring out. Under the tree was a guy in flight outfit, flight navigator outfit with a hat. He had rain gear on. And he's standing in front of the tree, staring at Ed when he pulled in the driveway. And then Ed gave a double take and the guy was gone. Now who's Don Repo? He was a flight navigator that went down with the crew and the passengers. Eastern Airlines, that's not no longer in business, they took pieces of the wreckage that they found that were still good, like seats, the galley carts, voice and flight recorders, and used them on other planes. The other planes that they were used on, guess who showed up?
Don Repo.
Yeah. Don Repo was seen by the pilots, the co-pilot, the flight attendants, and the passengers. They got so many reports of seeing this guy sitting in full uniform in one of the passenger seats, and sometimes he'd go like this, and then disappear.
Why?
They get so many reports. That Eastern Airlines finally said, let's take those parts off the plane.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah.
And then when they took the parts off the plane, the haunting stopped. There's things in this world you can't explain.
Yeah.
And anybody out there that thinks that you don't live after you die is wrong. I used to ask Lorraine a lot at lectures, why do you believe that? And she said, it's not a matter of belief, it's a matter of evidence. We get so much evidence that people live on after they pass away. Visions of people, people communicating, shadow figures, a full vision of someone that you lost. An apparition, by the way, is a spirit that you can recognize. A ghost is a spirit that you don't recognize. So in other words, if a ghost appeared right here and I didn't know the identity, I'd call it a ghost. But you'd say, that's my grandmother. That's an apparition of your grandmother.
Interesting.
That's the only difference in terminology. Borley Rectory. I went there with Ed and with my wife and Lorraine. My wife immediately got sick when she got onto the property. She's psychic, my wife, but she doesn't like to admit it. She liked to play with it. Lorraine was fearless. She would go to a place and she developed her psychic awareness. When you hone in and tune in like that on so many investigations, your ability just gets better and better. A lot of the people in England and Scotland, they do believe in ghosts. They don't talk about it much, but they believe in it because they've experienced it. So that's where Ed and Lorraine went a lot, and I went with them about 4 different times. It's great.
Yeah, we were there end of last year.
Where'd you go? What part?
All over.
All over.
Honestly, we did Ireland, Northern Ireland. We didn't touch Scotland, and then England. We actually tried going to the Enfield House.
Oh, you did?
We tried like
Main
leaving.
Street?
Yeah, we like left a note to be like, hey, if it's possible.
Oh, that would have been cool to get
I know,
in
but
there.
they didn't answer.
Oh, I could tell you a little bit about that. I didn't visit it, but my wife did, and of course Ed and Lorraine did. John told me a story. John Candyhurst told me a story. He's sitting on the couch in the Enfield House. All of a sudden, he said, "Tone, I hear this plopping noise." I said, "Yeah." He goes, and I looked down, and in front of me is this big pile of crap. He goes, and it looked just like human crap but it was big, like horse size, but it was right there. I said, well, did it dematerialize again? He goes, no, we had to clean it up.
What?
It just, out of nowhere, a plop sound, and he looked down, and there it was, human excrement on the ground. Lorraine was standing in the kitchen. All of a sudden, wallpaper just tore away from the wall, floated around over the one light that was there to block her light. Lorraine wanted to stand under the light. She said, when I stood under the light, I felt better in this house. The voices from Enfield, England were amazing. If you watch The Conjuring 2, at the end, you'll hear the actual voices. But Ed had hours of those voices that we just converse with Ed. Now that's the key. The key is communication back and forth. John Kennyhurst was asked by Ed to go out to the car. John, the priest can't come today. About 10 minutes later comes back, and Ed's like, well, where's the holy water? And John says, there is no holy water, Ed. He goes, I know where it was. It is no longer there. It's gone. I can't find it. Ed says, well, you know what? We're going to make our own with holy water. Give me some salt, give me some water. Ed did like a simple, his own blessing over it, which is not really holy water. So then Ed said, well, we're going to do a blessing in the house. Says, hand me the holy water, John. And out of the blue, a voice says, but it's not blessed. Just like that. So they could understand and see whatever Ed was doing. It's not blessed. Ed's like, what? And he started talking back and forth with him and mocking Ed. They're laughing. It's not blessed. That's the power of demonic entities. Wow. Those are the kind of crazy things that happen in the Enfield house.
Jesus. What?
I gotta try again to get back in there.
That's dude, that's
Wow.
That's
Isn't that
wild.
insane? Isn't
That's
that kinda-
insane.
If I can get
I
the house,
believe
you
it,
want me to
though.
invite you?
The things that happened, yeah, I'd like to come.
All right.
The things in that house that were just amazing. People would say, well, Ed and Lorraine weren't there. Well, let me just tell you this much. They weren't there for months or years. They were only there for maybe a week. But during that week, they helped out Margaret and Janet and Peggy more than from the England Cyclical Institute did, according to Janet and Margaret. When Janet and Margaret saw Lorraine on the set of The Conjuring 2, they started crying. They were hugging Lorraine. And they said it right to the crew and me. They're the only ones that ever helped us. Lorraine and Ed are the only ones that ever really helped us or tried to help us. Pearls of death. They were given to a lady. As soon as she put them on, she felt that she was being strangled to death. Like somebody took them and twisted them and were trying to kill her. So they had to snap them off her. Why? Maybe there's a curse attached to them. I don't know. But they were given to Ed for that reason.
Why are you so comfortable touching everything? Just because you're around it all the time?
Yeah, because I'm around it. Not only that, these items have been blessed. And I protect myself like we did outside. Went to confession first before I met you guys today. Ed said to me when he did it, he said he could pick them up, so I assumed that I could pick them up. The things I won't touch are things like Annabelle, things like the satanic idol, the shadow doll. I won't touch those. And in fact, I'm just going to show you the Annabelle doll now, actually. Come over here, guys. I'll show you the Annabelle
That
doll.
case is so much larger than I thought it was.
This is a long story, but I'm going to tell it to you because if you want the real story on what happened here. That's a handwritten sign by Ed. Positively do not open. He wrote that years and years ago. I think he wrote it probably in 77, 78. People ask me why the Devil Tarot card is here. Ed put it there, so we leave it there. It's a different case, but we put it there. This item here is probably the most dangerous item. That's why it's in a case. And I'm not going to touch it. I never touch it. Not with bare hands.
Oh.
People say, well, you know, didn't you bring it to Las Vegas? I did bring it to Las Vegas. But I know how to protect myself, and I'll tell you how I know. Ed showed me. He said, if you ever have to move the doll, the way to do it is this. But when you handle the doll, you don't handle it with your bare hands. Ed told me, wear a pair of like heavy welding gloves. Make sure your hands were drenched in holy water first before you even put the gloves on. And envision yourself in a white light, and ask God for protection from anything evil that might be attached to Annabelle. But it's rare that we move it. We try not to move it very often. There are times though when we have to move it, like when we have to repair the case, which we're gonna have to do. We'd have to repair this case and move the doll. What he does, Dan Rivera, my lead investigator, he made this case. What he does is he gets stain, he gets water, he brings it to the priest, and he has the priest bless it. Wow. Then when he built this case, He stained it with the holy water and oil combination with the stain, infused in it. Behind the doll, behind the felt, he has a prayer written in there, the Our Father. On the sides, if you want to catch that with the camera, he cut out crosses on both sides, put a cross here, and he has 2 plaques, the St. Michael the Archangel prayer. We consider that a protection. Not total protection, because you never know.
Yeah.
That's why we don't touch it with our bare hands. That's why there's glass. So, the story of Annabelle. You ready for this?
Oh.
Absolutely.
Lorraine and Ed got a call from 2 nurses. They said, we have this item and we think it's causing a lot of problems with us. Can you come over? So they went over to the house, Ed and Lorraine. They visited these 2 girls. One of her names was Donna. She's the one who received the doll from her mother as a birthday gift. Now Donna was about 28 years old at the time, but she liked dolls. A lot of girls like dolls. I don't blame them. You know, it's nice. It's like we like model cars. Nothing's wrong with the doll that they can see. Everything's fine. They even put a little gold bracelet on the doll's wrist there that you can see later. She would carry the doll all over the house. One day, while they're at the breakfast nook, I know it's going to sound illogical and crazy, they're sitting at the breakfast nook and the doll is next to them, her and her roommate, who's a nurse also. All of a sudden, those 2 flimsy rag hands levitated onto the table like this, together, like this, and landed there. Now the girls look at each other. How about you? I'd be a little panicky, right? They didn't. They were more intrigued. Like the other nurse says to Donna, she's, hey, the doll must be trying to tell us something. And Donna says, yeah, look what, maybe, I mean. And the other one goes back and says, well, I know a psychic. Why don't we call her in? We'll have like a seance or something, and see if we could find out what she wants. That's what they did. That was their first mistake, was giving it recognition like that.
Yeah.
So they did. They had a friend come in that night around the table and do a seance. Here's what the psychic says. I'm picking up the spirit of a young girl who was killed in a car accident outside your apartment complex. She's about 7 years old, and her name is Annabelle. She's in your doll. That's what she says to the girls. The girls bought it, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
Now the psychic didn't know what the hell she was talking about, because God does not allow a human spirit to enter inanimate objects. Like, in other words, when you go home tonight, your grandmother's not in your living room chair. A demonic entity could be attached. Now they're intrigued, and they're saying, wow, there's a human spirit in our doll. And they started to really treat it with more reverence, you know, more like it's human. Donna had the doll on the edge of a couch in the open, and Lou, who's Donna's fiance, was laying on the other end of the couch, sleeping. He wakes up with a start. He's sweaty. He's like heart pumping. He's holding his chest. He's like, man, I just had the worst nightmare. And Don's like, what happened? What happened, Lou? And he points at the doll. He says, I just had a dream that that doll there was crawling up my leg, and it got to my neck and started to strangle me. That was his dream, nightmare. What's he do? He grabs the doll off the couch because he's angry and he's nervous. Grabs the doll, he picks it up, he throws it all across the room on the carpet. He says, that's just a Raggedy Ann doll, can't hurt anybody. When he said that, 7 psychic wounds appeared on his chest and on his stomach. 4 this way and 3 this way. They came through his t-shirt. It's like somebody took a scalpel and they could see the blood coming through the t-shirt. Now they're freaked out. Now Donna and their girlfriend and Lou are like, wait a minute, that can't be a 7-year-old girl inside that doll. Something's wrong here. They called a high Episcopal canon in Hartford. He didn't know what to do. He says, you know, I'm not versed in this kind of stuff. He says, why don't you call the Warrens? They know all about this stuff. Ed and Lorraine get there. They had a priest come with them and did an exorcism of the house. And the girl said, well, what are you going to do with the doll, Ed? We don't want that doll. Can you take it? I said, I'll bring it back to my museum. So I took it back to the museum in his car. He had like an old Chevy. As on the way home, the car's jerking, stopping, stalling. He never did that before. He had trouble controlling it, bouncing off the curbs. Finally, he stops the car. He had holy water. He always kept it in his pocket in a little plastic bottle. He sprinkled holy water on it. He said the sign of the cross and said, "They Our Father." And he said they were able to make it home. When he did, he put it in a chair, like this chair right here. Put it in a corner over here. You could just reach over and grab it. But he put a little yellow tape, that danger, do not touch. So that was fine for a while, right? A priest, Father Bill, he comes over in the daytime, has lunch with Ed and Lorraine upstairs. After they're eating lunch and having tea, he says to Ed, hey Ed, can I see that doll that I heard so much about that put slashes on people? That's how he said it. Ed says, come on down, Father, I'll show it to you. He gets to the doll, starts to talk about the doll that's in the corner, and he starts to talk, he gets to the part with the slash marks with Lou, and the priest, like, doesn't want to know. The priest goes, what? He reaches over the tape, grabs the doll. That's the guy. He grabs the doll. You know what he does? He grabs it, almost like Lou, throws it across the museum and says, God is more powerful than any devil or demon. Ed says, Father, why'd you do that? I told you not to touch anything. The priest says, I don't care. God is more powerful. Ed says, you know what, Father, you're right. God is more powerful than any devil or demon, but no human being is. No priest, he shouldn't have touched it. The priest didn't want to hear it. They go back upstairs. Ed's not too happy with the priest, by the way. They say their goodbyes. The priest gets in his brand new car and leaves. The priest never made it to his diocese that night because the car went out of control, almost head on into a tractor trailer, destroyed the car, and injured the priest. It didn't kill him, but it injured him. 2 days later, the priest calls up, crying on the phone to Ed. He tells him about the accident. He says, you know what, Ed? He says, the last thing I can recall was looking in the rearview mirror, and I saw an image of that doll. Then I lost control of the car. Ed's like, fella, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, I told you not to touch the doll. Ed used to give these little tours of the museum. He used to charge like $5 or $10 or $12. He'd have a group of college kids would call up. He'd say, oh, if you get 10 kids, I'll give you an hour-and-a-half tour. And one of the kids came on a motorcycle with his girlfriend, gets to the doll. Now, at this time, the doll's in a case. Because after all these incidents, Ed said, I'm going to have a case built, which was that case there. That is the original case.
No way.
That's the original case right there. And that's where we're going to put it when we transfer the doll for repairs. Temporarily, we put her back right there. That was the case that the young man ran up to. Ed's talking about the doll. He gets, again, to the I guess the slash marks like a trigger. Mm-hmm. He talks about the slash marks appearing psychic wounds. The young man breaks in the crowd, runs up to the glass, starts banging on the glass with his fingers, says, this is a bunch of bull. If that doll can put slashes on somebody, do it to me. What'd he do? He challenged. He challenged the doll. Ed's like, hey, you and your girlfriend, you got to get out of here. I can't have that. I just got through telling you people, don't disrespect the doll, don't challenge, get out. Kid's mocking it on the way out, laughing with his girlfriend. He never made it home. 3 hours later, they found out that he was killed on that motorcycle when he went head on into a tree. Now, how do we know what happened? The girl didn't die. She was in a hospital for many months, though. And she said, when interviewed, the last thing she recalled was laughing and joking about the doll with him before he lost control of the bike. Now, I've looked at that doll many times. I've never challenged it. I've never said, I want to see something happen. I never said, I want to see the doll move. I never said, if you can do something to me, do it. No, that's ridiculous. That's stupid. It's like going up to Mike Tyson and say, go ahead, hit me. Go ahead, you think you can hit me? You think you're tough? Why would you challenge? So over here is the movie doll.
Is the movie at a
Oh, wow. I did
This
not
is
even
one
see
of the
that.
movie dolls. That's one of the dolls right there. Warner Brothers was super nice and allowed us to have one.
Now, do you believe this is just a normal doll, or do you believe because of the intention they put into this for the movie that it also has?
Well, that you never know. That's why she's in a case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I was asking.
It's one of the
exactly.
reasons that you never know. Look,
You never know.
This right here, the Satanic Idol of Newtown. This is a mind blower, and I'll tell you why. Something terrible happened with this idol, and it happened to Lorraine. 1991, Ed gets a phone call from a young man, about 22 years old, who's a bow and arrow hunter, hunting deer in the woods in Sandy Hook. And if you know Sandy Hook, you know what happened there, the tragedies. But this was way before that happened. He gets lost looking for deer. All of a sudden he stumbles on a grotto of rocks. On top of it is the idol. He never saw anything like this before. Matter of fact, I didn't either. He starts to walk away down this pathway, scared. He said his heart's pounding because he feels funny looking at that thing. As he's walking away, this is the crazy part right here. Out of nowhere, in the summertime, in the middle of the woods somewhere, a guy appears right next to him, all dressed in black from head to toe, about 70, 72 years old. Snow white hair combed back, short cropped snow white beard, walking step for step with this young man. As the kid's walking, this guy's walking with him without looking at him. I got so scared, I wanted to just take an arrow out of my quiver and go like this and stab the guy. I was so frightened of the guy. I said, well, you didn't do that, right? He goes, of course not. He goes, but I did muster up enough energy to say, how do I get out of this place? The man never looked over at him, stared straight ahead, never spoke, pointed off to the right like this, and then walked away. He gets to the road, he finds his car, goes home, tells his buddies. His buddies say, well, why don't you just call Ed Warren? He lives right in Monroe, next town over. Ed meets him. They walk into the woods, they find the idol. As they're walking in, he tells Ed about this guy, more detail. Ed sees the idol, he immediately says, I know what that is, and I know who the guy is. A satanic worship idol. It doesn't belong here. It's Satanists that are using this. It's good that you told me about it because I'm going to take it back with me. It doesn't belong here. So he takes the idol, puts it in the back seat of the car, and comes home. Nothing happens for a day, nothing happens for 2 days. Third day, Ed's out in the driveway fixing the wipers on his car, and Lorraine is about 20 feet or so back watering some flowers with a hose. She looks at Ed, she goes, Ed, after we're done, we'll go have lunch. Ed's like, yeah, no problem. As soon as I fix my wipers, he goes back to doing the wipers. He looks back towards Lorraine. She's no longer there. Just like seconds later, she's like 25 yards up in the backyard, lying down in a fetal position, semi-conscious. No hose, no nothing. Ed drops everything, runs to Lorraine, panicky. Lorraine, what's the matter? She doesn't answer him. She's like semi-conscious. He calls the ambulance and police. They come, they bring her to St. Vincent's Hospital in Bridgeport. She's there for 3 days, in and out of consciousness. I went with Judy the next morning to see her. She could hardly talk. She just about recognized her own daughter. And she was almost like somebody hit her with a baseball bat and she had the flu. Yeah. That's how she was acting, like just out of it. Doctors did all kinds of tests, brain scans, everything else. The third day, she snaps out of it. She's perfectly fine. Doctor said, she can go home, Ed. She's fine. There's nothing wrong. We can't find anything wrong with her. She said, I want to get out of here. I'm hungry. I want to eat. She comes home. She's fine. The next day, I come over to see Ed. I go, Ed, can we look at the statue again? So I come in and look at the statue. Whatever happened with Lorraine? What did the doctors say? He said, they never told me, Tom. He goes, but they didn't need to tell me. I know what happened. He goes, that son of a bitch. And he gave me the guy's name. He goes, his name is, and he told it. He's a German guy. He's a high priest in a satanic cult. And he did that to Lorraine as a warning to me. He goes, I know he did. He goes, he didn't mess with me directly because he knows I have a lot of knowledge on reverse ceremonial magic and that I could be damaging too. But he wanted to warn me because I stole his idol out of the woods. He goes, as soon as that kid told me the description of this guy, I knew who it was. Here's the crazy part. He told me his name once. It's a German name, but I'm not going to repeat it. I'll tell you why. So I said, oh, okay, is he powerful, huh? And I'm talking. Yeah, he's real powerful. 2 months later, I said, hey, Ed, what's that guy's name again, that satanic priest guy? Ed said, I'm not going to tell you what his name is. You got to remember it or you don't remember. I go, come on, Ed. Here's what he said to me. Every time I mention that goddamn guy's name, something bad happens to me or to us. I go, really? He goes, yeah, that's how powerful the guy is. I don't even like to repeat his name, he says to me. This is going to freak you out a little bit. I didn't learn this until about a year or so ago. The person who's responsible for the, for the death of all those children lived on Yogananda Drive in Newtown, or Sandy Hook. A young man who murdered his best friend and kidnapped his girlfriend about 5 or 6 years ago. He lived on Yogananda Drive. This high priest in a satanic cult, who I'm not going to tell you his name, lived on Yogananda Drive before he died. Now, what's going on? 3 things like this guy was a high priest, had a lot of power, it told me. A lot of power. He lived on the same street as that killer and the other killer. I mean, there's no proof to anything, but to me it's kind of too coincidental to be anything other than something the guy was up to, that priest. Over here's the dinosaur that was used in the Brookfield case and the Devil Made Me Do It case. Thank you. Thanks. How is it so far?
Great, man. I can listen to you all night.
Incredible.
I love this.
I got to tell you guys the truth, so I want you to have a detailed
Yeah, no,
post.
there's one thing I want to ask, because I'm not fully sure they're aware, but Annabelle's being moved tonight,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
From the current case to the original.
Yeah. What time is it now?
That's gonna
happen tonight.
What time is it now?
Shield Bow is a defensive item. Prove them wrong. U.GG/app.
7:30, 11 o'clock, I think we're going to move it. But you guys
You're
are
moving it from the
Yeah.
current case to the original
Yeah.
case?
Yeah. And then it'll be in the original case when we're in here at 3 in the morning.
What?
Yeah,
Wait
it will.
a minute.
It will. The original case. The real, the one it had it in originally.
Yeah.
Annabelle's not to be messed with, you know what I
No.
mean? Because a lot of crap has happened with that doll. I mean, in fact, we had some people here one time on a tour say, "You having a good time tonight?" Because we were going to see the museum, go to a graveyard, see Ed's grave,
Yeah.
and have Lorraine come with us, and then go to dinner after that, like a whole meal, a whole evening. She looks at me, she says, "I only came to see the doll." So I laughed. I go, "You don't care about Lorraine or me?" I laugh. She goes, "No, I came to see that. I've been thinking about that doll for 2 days." Recognition. So I said, oh, you want to take a picture next to it? So she stood next to the case. I took her camera. I took a photo of her. She walks away. I go, well, I'll have your girlfriend take a picture too. So I hand the camera to the girlfriend. And I tell the woman, go stand on the other side of the case. So she does. Takes a picture. No problem. Everything's fine. We leave. We go to the cemetery to see Ed's grave. While we're there, walking away from Ed's grave, the lady's tugging on my arm. She goes, can I show you something? She goes, can I ask you a question? I go, yeah. She goes, is this normal? And I go, what? She shows me the pictures that I took and the girlfriend took. Behind Annabelle's eyes were other eyes, looking left and then looking right on the two separate pictures. In other words, like this. And they're looking that way at her. At her. Behind her eye, those button eyes, were another set of eyes looking that way and looking that way.
What?
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And so, what does that tell you? And I never had that happen before. And she said, oh, I don't want you to publish them, but I'll let you, I'll email them to you. So she did. And it's real.
Oh my God.
Question then. I didn't know that story until now. Since you told me that we'll be able to come here, I've obviously been thinking about how I get to see Annabelle. I mean, I've been thinking about like, oh, I get to see, and like not just Annabelle, but everything here, and like I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, what you're doing is you're energizing her.
Recognition.
Through the recognition. The more recognition you give to the doll, the more you even talk about the doll, the more recognition you give, the more energy you're giving it, the more thought process you give to it. Whatever's attached to that doll is looking for a weakness in somebody. And if somebody's so bent on seeing something, it's going to oblige, right? So that's why I say you don't challenge it, you don't look at it too much. So this case here was built by Dan Rivera. He's very knowledgeable in a lot of different areas, especially Santeria. But this says accept existence of the devil. Just like you accept existence of God, you have to believe that there is a devil, because God created the devil too. This was the creature, the dinosaur that David Glatzel had when he was a young man, in the Devil Made Me Do It case. This is the one artifact we have from the house. This is the dinosaur that was seen crawling across the floor, floating across the carpeting, and a voice emanated from near it saying, "You are all going to die." That was from The Conjuring 3 and from the book The Devil in Connecticut by Gerald Brittle. Good book. It tells a true story. And in fact, Arnie Johnson is going to be a guest speaker at our Paracon that we're having October 29th in the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut, the Mohegan Sun, on October 29th. So if you want to learn a lot more about this case, especially too, go to warrens.net, WARRENS.net, and there's tickets for sale. We're going to have a lot of good guest speakers. One who's a pretty big name that we're going to announce pretty soon. He and his wife are coming. And of course I'll be speaking and Dan will be speaking too, but we have UFO people, we have cryptologists, we have all kinds of good people coming. And we're going to have over 50 vendors.
You have one other guest to bring in? Are you not mentioning? Are you bringing?
Oh yeah, we're going to bring a guest too. We're going to have a replication of the artifact room here.
Oh, the whole thing.
Not the whole thing,
Oh.
but a lot of the important artifacts that we went over. The Annabelle doll for sure is coming. The movie Annabelle doll. The
Really?
the worship idol. The shadow doll. The dinosaur. The conjuring mirror. The white lady that I didn't speak about yet, but I'll get to. The White Lady of Union Cemetery.
Jeez.
And so it's going to be fantastic. We had a really good turnout in a small Waterbury venue last year, but we figured the Mohegan Sun Casino is where it should actually be. We sold out in Waterbury, so we wanted to get a bigger venue. And it's going to be in honor of Ed Lorraine. It's going to be called the Warrens Seekers of the Supernatural Paracon.
Wow.
And you guys are invited. You don't have to buy a ticket even.
Oh, really?
You guys don't have to buy a ticket.
Well, they do, right? Joan and Evan have to.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
Everybody else has to buy a ticket. These guys right here. This is an actual skull used in satanic rituals. What do they do in satanic rituals? Well, they sacrifice animals and humans. You're going to have a lot of people saying, that's not what Satanists do. This guy's full of it. Who's this jerk talking about Satanists? Well, I'm the jerk that's going to tell you that real Satanists destroy animals and they destroy humans. And why do they do that? They do it to gain power in the devil's eyes. It's like they're giving up something that the devil hates. Because in the devil's eyes, anything that's created in God's image is a hated image. And you, ladies and gentlemen, are created in God's image. Nothing better than to kill a human being or a baby. Why a baby? Well, a baby's innocent. And the more innocent, they figure the more power they get from the devil. In fact, the main prize would be a young child. So what they do is they take members of the cult, the satanic cult, and they impregnate them for the specific reason of getting the person pregnant, to have the baby, and to kill the baby, and then to drink the blood and rip off the skin and eat the skin and flesh of the baby. So, are Satanists bad people? You bet your ass they're bad people. So that's going to be on display. That's an actual human skull that was given to Ed. Wow. Ed collects the Ouija boards from people who can't use them anymore or shouldn't use them anymore.
Yeah.
And why shouldn't you use that? Why wouldn't you use a Ouija board? It's just a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. That is a conduit to the other side. That's like a telephone to the other side. What are you doing? You're asking questions of the unknown realm. Put my hand on that planchette and say, I want to speak to a spirit. You're not saying specifically who, right? Mm-hmm. Any spirit can come through. Or, I want to speak to my grandma, Josephine. Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe something's happening. Let me verify that it's her. A demonic entity can read your mind. As far as I'm concerned, from what we've learned, they can read your mind. It's not guesswork. They know what you're thinking. So when you're thinking the red bicycle, they pick it up.
Yeah.
Now you're convinced it's your grandmother. Now you invited them in. Oh, Graham, nice to talk to you. So you just invited in the unknown realm. And once you invite that in, what they want to do, a demonic entity, is destroy a human in some fashion, either physically or emotionally. Have you get broken up in your marriage, have fights, dysfunction, chaos, lose your job, start drinking. Remember I said they attack you on the weakest level that you have. Like a witch could say, I want something bad to happen to Tony, to Elton, and nothing happens right away. It could happen in a few months. They pick the time and the date. Mm-hmm. It's like the devil. When you say, like, if I challenge Annabelle, nothing happens. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to happen that instant. It could happen a month later, a year. But Ed, every time we were in here, he'd say, don't touch anything. Every time I come in here with him, and I was in here with him hundreds of times, he would always reiterate to me, that's why I knew Ed was real and legitimate, was he never would lose a moment and go, that is all BS, you know.
Yeah.
Never. Or say, yeah, don't worry about it, you can grab that. That's okay. Never.
Yeah.
He'd be like, don't touch that. If you touch it, let me know. Listen, knowing him for years, he'd say, if you touch, and don't stare at Annabelle. He would say stuff like that to me, knowing me so well. He wasn't trying to impress me. He was trying to protect me.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I try to do when I bring people in here, to show them that this stuff is real. And people, like I said before, why do you keep it? Ed told me he kept it for evidence. You're welcome to come to the Paracon if we have an extra table.
We're going to give him a table, too.
Oh, really?
We're going to be at the Paracon October 29. Where's it going to be? Mohegan Sun.
Can you one condition though? I get to be in a life-size replica case of Annabelle sitting in it. So I'll be in a bigger case.
Oh, but they can throw a ball and you fall
yeah,
in the
but they
water.
throw a ball and then
That's not a bad idea.
and then I drop
like
in.
that
You can
idea.
build it, right?
I like that idea.
Okay.
I could build a case and put it in the lobby.
Yeah,
and
I'll
have
just
people
sit
sit
in
in
there.
it and they can take their pictures.
Yeah.
But if you're,
That's a great idea.
But if you're fans of these wonderful guys, if you're fans, come and see them at the Paracon in Mohegan Sun, October 29th.
go.
Warrens.net, right?
Yeah.
They're very nice guys. They love what they do, and they believe in what they do, and that's the key. Believing in what you do.
Appreciate it, man.
And,
Thank you.
So I hope you have 10 million subscribers soon.
What was your question, Corey?
Can I ask some questions outside of this building?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
Cool.
Sure.
I guys want to show you one thing.
Yeah.
So this
Oh,
is
yeah.
the haunted
Oh,
passageway.
yeah, we forgot to show you the passageway. Let's turn the light on, Dan. Yeah. Oh yeah, Ed's paintings are lining the wall. If you want to, you'll see. Follow Dan.
Those
in.
are his paintings
Follow
right there.
Dan in.
So this passageway, when we held our lectures, Ed and Lorraine held their lectures in the house, after the lectures, they would have their guests come through the passageway from the basement into the museum. So this leads right to the house.
Oh, wow.
So follow me.
This is incredible. No way.
And actually, if you investigate in here, you'll capture some good evidence too.
Oh wow.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
So on the walls here are Ed's paintings. Just want to take a look.
No. This is amazing. Oh, this is incredible. Look at this casket.
That's a real casket.
That's a real casket?
There was a man that was into this practice. He would sleep in that casket.
Whoa.
So that was also given to Ed.
Wow.
That room on the other side of that door is the Halloween room. That's where Ed would hold his lectures, you know, back in the day. He'll have like 10 people come to the house. He would have them come in the basement, talk about the paranormal. He would show a video of Maurice. If you heard about Maurice, the man that was possessed in Massachusetts, he would show that exorcism to them in this little 13-inch TV.
Jeez.
In that room over there.
Oh, what that must have been like.
So when you're doing your investigation, I suggest maybe one person in this passageway.
Perfect. Okay.
Somebody all the way at the other end.
Yeah, okay.
And if you're going to try to do any kind of communications, you know, just be careful
SD's
what you ask for, because you're going to get it.
Okay.
All right.
What if, I mean, I'm assuming you guys have investigated.
We
this place
investigated
many times, right?
We only did it one time.
Only one time.
Whoa.
Only one time.
Just in
And that was the last time, and we're not going to do it again.
Why?
Because we don't want to give the items that attention.
Yeah.
You know, we're around it all the time.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be affected by these items.
Of course.
And there's more reasons why we go to church. We have a blessing, we go to mass, go to confession. You know, we help people.
Yeah.
And we have these items, we bring them out to the public where we can educate them that evil does exist. So Ed's been doing it, we're continuing that legacy.
Got it.
All right, so
how often are people doing investigations here? Is it incredibly rare? Because I mean, as far as I looked, I couldn't actually find one. Like paranormal investigations here, people like, how often are those happening here?
in this museum,
Yeah.
we never have anybody investigate this museum.
Okay, that's when I was doing my homework on it, I couldn't find any.
Right. No, you, other than us, and I told you,
Yeah.
you're gonna have this museum to investigate. You're gonna be the first ones investigating this museum.
Yeah.
All right. We brought Annabelle down to Las Vegas. All right. But we pulled it. Tony pulled Annabelle right out of there when Zach went to touch her.
Yeah.
All right. So we suggest that you don't touch any items.
Yeah, of course.
We're watching.
Yeah. No, we're.
You know, Ed did that when the guy touched the doll. He was mocking the doll. And he said, "Son, you need to leave." We won't hesitate to tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right, so just respect the items.
Of course.
But do your thing. You know.
Yeah.
And see what you're able to capture.
Wow.
Appreciate it.
Wow.
Thank you for
This
having
is.
us.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
It's an
All right.
honor, truly, to be
Such
And I
here.
know
a
you guys,
valuable
some of you didn't know that you were coming here tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
No idea.
So you can scratch that off your bucket list.
Yeah.
Actually is, by the way, my main channel, TFIL, the Fuck It List, is number 666 on the list, was to come here.
All right, so just remember, you're in one of the most haunted locations in the world.
Yeah.
All right, so a lot of these items do have attachments. Some demonic, and some could be earthbound spirits, but they all intermingle. All right, so you'll hear voices, you can hear something growling. You just don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, I don't know too much about you, but it seems like your eyes are like watering a little bit talking about it.
Oh, I get emotional about
Yeah.
this because I was mentored by Lorraine.
Oh.
All right, and she made me promise to keep this going
Yeah.
with Tony. So
Yeah.
I take it to heart.
Of course.
So I'm not doing this for fame or anything like that.
No.
It's because I love this, and I want this to keep going.
Yeah.
This
All
is
right.
incredible. Of course.
Appreciate it, man.
And that story Tony told you about Annabelle with the guy in the motorcycle.
Yeah.
I was 8 years old, driving down Route 25. A guy and his girlfriend come flying by us on a motorcycle.
Whoa.
All right. My father says they're going to get into an accident. As soon as we got to the end of the connector, there's the motorcycle on the side of the road. The girl's on the side of the road holding her head, and her boyfriend went into the tree line, and he had died. Now, I didn't know that at the time, that was my connection to this location.
You were there.
I was there when it happened. So, years later, I'm working with the Warrens. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. This is intense.
This is once in a lifetime. It really is once in a lifetime. Man, it's really like
so many items.
So we're like the only people besides them that's ever investigated here.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're doing basically 2. Because we're going to do 1, and then we're going to come back in at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
So.
We're gonna watch them put Annabelle from here into here.
Yeah. I did when I had my replica made, I had no idea that this one was this large. That was the one.
Yeah.
I like basically modeled it after.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Up until the time he got sick, until the time he collapsed, up to 2001.
The old cameras too. Cameras
Yeah.
used by Warren.
Remember The Conjuring 2?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Those are the kind of recorders he used to use.
Jeez.
Everyone
used
gets
these
a
kind of
free new
recorders.
Samsung Galaxy.
This is his painting here. He did The Witch of
Fair. Isn't she in Ding? Like the.
Nah, Farah's not in Zyko.
Oh. Fetching is though.
Thank you. Now get on the wall. C6. Claus, I know you're there as well. You get on.
Oh, this guy's flying. Am I just lagging out? Is this guy just flying?
We're losing because they have more numbers than us.
Yeah, it's like an.
Every
like
time I
in
spawn in, it's like a 3v1.
in clans, like 8v1 or something. Oh, Waypin is not our ally, bro.
I swear to God.
I'm getting
C6, get on.
6 block, bro.
Get on. You can stream any point. Thank you.